this side, yeah. Yo, GamerNemy here and welcome to the ultimate Leroy parry tutorial. Now I did a Tekken 7 version of this and I do feel as though I need to do this again specifically for Tekken 8 because like I said in my previous video, grabs in this game now beat all parries, right? If you grab someone trying to parry, that throw becomes unbreakable. So just for those who have not watched my video, here is a demonstration. So Leroy CPU down forward into parry. So let me just turn off my two other recordings. This off, this off. Right, as you can see, the big flash, right, means the throw is unbreakable. So with this said, Leroy in this game can't really spam parry as much as you would back in Tekken 7. Like you have to be more strategic when you play Leroy in this game when it comes to parrying and all that jazz. So this is what I want to talk about. The best way to use Leroy's parries in Tekken 8 at the moment. Okay, so first let's start with back 2. Now back 2 honestly feels like it has way more recovery. I don't know the frame data on this, but it feels very slow compared to Tekken 7. Now back 2 should never be spammed. I know this is a bad habit that Leroy mains have, me included. Back 2 cannot be spammed as much as Jin's auto parry, right? Jin's auto parry has good recovery and has some kind of auto block to it. Leroy's parry, you get baited, you're getting launched, you're getting grabbed, right? So don't ever spam parry, right? If you're panicking, and even the best players do panic, I know, trust me. If you're panicking, you're better off doing like a power crush or an orbital, but parry, oh my god, just don't do parry, like it's just so bad. So the best way to use this parry, to talk about back 2, we must also talk about up forward 1. So if you guys didn't know, up forward 1 has a built-in parry just like a back 2. It's basically back 2 but with an attack. So down forward 1, record, yes, boom, play. As you can see, I'll do up forward 1. You see that? That's an attack. You're right. So it's basically the same parry, right? With a follow-up as well. It's basically the same parry, but it has an attack added to it. This makes things very interesting when it comes to parrying with Leroy in terms of whether you want to use back 2, whether you want to use up back 1. Like how do you decide on which parry to use? So now, firstly, let's start with back 2. So back 2, you should use this parry when you read your opponent, right? When you have a solid read against your opponent's attacks. Now, what do I mean by this? So, for example, I have recorded my Leroy to do forward 2, 3, 4, right? So, the thing about this move is that, right, it has an extension of the forward 3, 4, right? So, you can either do the first 2 hits and first 3 hits. It's kind of like a mix-up, right? Will the Leroy finish it or will the Leroy not finish it? So, now this is what I want to talk about. So, in terms of first reading the move, right? So, you know, if you know that the Leroy is using the last hit, like, you know, regularly, get the read and get the parry. That's like the most basic way to use back 2. This is how you must use back 2, in fact, right? Read the parry, read the move, like read what your opponent is about to do. And this applies mostly to strings, characters like Azucena, right? Hwarang, oh my god, Leroy feasts on Hwarang. For you guys that hate Hwarang matchup, like that's gold for Leroy, right? So characters like Hwarang, you know, Steve to some extent, he's good against Feng as well, right? So making reads, this applies to full crouch as well. So for example, let's record something basic here. So Leroy down back 4 into outstanding 4, right? Now I know this move is negative, so Leroy don't really use it in this sense, but like just imagine this is like a Dragunov down 2, or in fact like a Jin down 2, right? Let's assume down back 4 is plus, right? Then he has his turn. So in this case, right, you want to use up forward 1, right? Because in crouch, I can't really do back 2, right? Unless I do the perfect timing, as you can see here. The perfect crouch cancel. I think the best way to show you guys this is with another character. So let me just switch to Jin real quick. Maybe that it will make more sense. Kazama Jin and his freaking curse down 2. I can't believe that shit hasn't been nerfed, Namco. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Okay, so classic Jin, right? This is the classic Jin setup, right? Down back 2 to outstanding 4-4. So a good Jin will just do outstanding 4 because the second 4 is a high, right? So something like this. So as you can see, it's +4, right? But as a Leroy player, as a Leroy main, if you have the read, if the Jin player keeps doing this, right, the parry can nullify that, right? As you can see, it even says punish, right? So as you can see, guys, it's about making reads. Now, I spoke about up forward 1 and back 2. So from crouch, it's easier to use up forward 1 because if you want to use back 2 from crouch, you have to crouch cancel and do back 2, or press the back 2 at the exact right moment when you recover from the crouch animation. As you can see, this is just back 2, but this is up forward 2, and up forward 2, I'm just mashing, right? I'm just mashing, right? So that's one situation in which you want to use back 2 and up forward 1. Sorry, to read your opponents. Now, so let's go back to that Leroy string I spoke about earlier, the forward 2, 3, 4, and how you can apply the parry, both the back 2 and the up back 1. So now, like I say, there's a mix-up with this string, right? It's either if he does the whole string or he does only 2 hits. So for example, 1, 2, that's the first recording. Record this, yes. Put this at 5. Okay, for now, I'll leave it at 0. Then second recording, the full thing. Okay, forward. Oh my God, what is that? What is that? Bro, record again. Sorry, guys, I'm old. Forward, 2, 3, 4. There we go. All right, so let's do forward 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's say the opponent is mixing both these strings, right? Let's put them at 5 so you can mix them up. All right, so if you're having trouble because both of those strings are unsafe, right? If Leroy does forward 2, 3, you can punish it with the 10 frame. If it does forward 2, 3, 4, you can also punish it with the 10 frames. Now let's say you're frustrated with like the mix-up, right? The option you can have, like a second option as a Leroy player, is try to just let them know that you have the parry. So for example, this is up back 1, right? So if he finishes the third hit, I do get my parry. However, if it does stop on the second hit, you throw out your up forward 1, right? So you see 3 hits, I got the parry. 2 hits, I still get my turn in a sense to attack because he's negative. Remember, he's negative, right? So I still get my time to attack. Unless he's like a top level player, then he knows that you're doing this and he baits your high. But overall, that's pretty much like the sense of mental frames you want to force on your opponent. Like let them know you have those options apart from waiting for you to guess and just punish the mix-up, right? Because at the end of the day, guessing is not fun, right? You have to turn your opponent's offense into your favor, right? Yeah, that's basically Wing Chun. See what I did there, right? So that's basically how both up back 1 and back 2 should be used, right? Back 2 used mostly as a read, right? Opponent strings, stuff like Feng, down back 3 into outstanding 4, right? You can parry that with up forward 1 or back 2 from crouch, stuff like that. Up forward 2. If you're panicking, like in situations I know Leroy remains panic. Yeah, if you're panicking, I think it's actually safer to throw up back 1 than back 2. But the risk is up back 1 being an attack is you're susceptible to grabs. Remember, it's a built-in parry. It's an attack with a built-in parry, so very susceptible to grabs and counter it as well. Right? You can hit by a random Steve back 1, you know, and stuff like that. So it's very, very risky. But overall, yeah, you have to just about making reads, guys. Make the reads. Maybe I should show you what you can do with Feng, right? Maybe I'm not being clear and I'm not giving you guys the value you want from this video. Like, let me just show you how crazy it can be if you impose the fear of having a parry in your arsenal. Yeah, for example, classic Feng way, right? This annoying stuff, you just can't deal with it, right? So we call this, for example, right? You steal your turn back, right? You steal your turn back. And if you try to do stuff like this, because Fengway players love doing this, right? They do something like this, right? So now let's say you get hit by the down back 3, then you throw out an up forward 1. This is what happens. You see? you basically steal your turn back, right? You go for an up forward, you go for outstanding one, you get a parry, right? They try to enforce more plus frames, you interrupt them and steal your turn, turning your opponent's offense in your favor. That's basically how it works. So yeah, it's pretty good. Stuff like this, again, morphing stuff, right? Record again, Nemi. What are you doing? What's happening too? Stuff like this, of course, the annoying thing stuff, right? Excuse me. Classic back to parry. Timing on up back one is a bit different on this one, as you can see. So yeah, it's really good in terms of interrupting their offense or their mental frames for up back one, right? It's really good for that sense. And back one is especially good for reads. Reads is what back two is all about. And one other thing I forgot to mention, like the difference between up forward one, using up forward one as a parry, and the back two is up forward one will never come out as a just frame. At least from my knowledge, it will never come out as a just frame version of the parry. If you want a just frame version, you have to get that by using back two. The just frame version, as you guys know, deals more damage and gives you a knockdown. So just to showcase this, let's say I've recorded Feng here to do a shoulder. So I missed it. I missed it again. Oh my god. Come on, Nemi. Dude, I'm missing this just frame. What the hell? There we go. So that's back to 35 damage and the knockdown. Up forward one will never come out as a just frame version, right? It just won't. This is up forward one, right? So this goes back to what I said. It's about making reads. You make the reads, you get the right parry at the right timing. You have a chance to land the just frame version and deal more damage with a knockdown as well, which is very strong. So again, one last time, back to for reads, right? Up forward one for crouch parries, first of all. For interrupts, in terms of like their mental pressure, they want to like continue their mental pressure, right? Interrupts and stealing back your turn while still being able to have the option to parry attacks as well. Okay, so for a second parry, let's talk about down back 1+2. Now, down back 1+2 is kind of the same as up forward 1, right? But down back 1+2 is very slow, as you can see. It's a mid and it goes into hit, and in hit as well, it becomes a launcher. Okay, so now down back 1+2 is one of those parries that you only use if you want to go into hit, right? I think that's the idea in terms of how you use this in Tekken 8 as compared to Tekken 7. I think in Tekken 7 was kind of redundant in a sense, right? I mean, it is an attack, but it's very slow and it's very linear, right? So you can't just spam it anyhow. So let's see. I don't think it was not a deep enough sidestep. So yeah, just a quick check, to show you guys how linear this is. Look at that. It's a small sidestep dash, and I'm almost behind him, right? Like, it's insanely linear, so you have to be very careful. So it's a very strong parry to go into hit, and from hit to get a combo. So for example, let's record our layer to do down forward 1 into down forward 1. Boom, go into hit, record, right? Like that, right? Going to hit first. I haven't even practiced my Leroy down back 1+2 combo, right? Just something basic, right? Yeah, so it's very good to use. Firstly, if you want to go into hit, right? And in hit, if you got a read on the opponent's attack and get a combo out of it, like after a hit dash, right? You want to use that after a hit dash, like you get a combo. So it's not really that complicated. Like, it's an attack, slower version of up back 1, you know, but it's a very strong parry. Don't get me wrong, it parries everything from kicks and punches. Not elbows though, right? Only up back 1 and back 2 will parry elbows, but this one will not, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just confirm that. What's this guy's elbow, right? 1, 2, okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, in case I drop it, okay. Yeah, you can't parry elbows with this parry. Yeah, so yeah, it's basically about reads, guys, even reads, but this one is more harder to implement, especially in hit, because Leroy's hit mechanic is all about cheap damage and offense, right? So unless you get a good bait, do something like that into parry, or like do just this, then parry, then go into hit. Something like boom, go get a hit dash, right? That's the idea behind it. If you want to spend your hit dash to go into a combo from the parry to get a full launcher. But down back 1+2, not that complicated, pretty much the same, but it's a pretty good parry as well. But like all of LEROY'S parries, again guys, it's about the reads. Okay, so now let's talk about his Hermit 1, which is also one of his best parries and heavily underrated. This is a very strong parry. Parries both punches and kicks as well. Just to show you guys what it looks like if you're new. So that's what it looks like. So that punches as well, right? And it's so good to the point that even slow attacks, as you can see, back 4 is 17, right? Back 1 is 13. Back 1+2 is 12. Also parries that. Even 10 frame jabs, right? So yeah, pretty strong. It's a very strong stance, and this makes his Hermit very scary because you don't want to challenge him whilst in Hermit. And to add insult to injury, this is also don't block my boy. This is also a counter hit launcher, right? So yeah, it's a very good parry. So now, in what situations do you want to use Hermit 1? Now, for example, right, if you want to enforce your Hermit pressure from block, for example. Okay, what's the best way to explain this? Okay, so let's take a look at this string, right? So down forward 4-3 is a classic Leroy poke, right? -9, very safe, mid. But if you do down forward 4, you go into Hermit, right? So it's kind of like a mental mix-up because the second hit of this one, right, knocks down for guaranteed up forward 3+4, 1+2. So now there's a mix-up situation, kind of like a mental frame mix-up situation. Is it gonna do the whole thing, or is it gonna just go into Hermit after down forward 4, right? So the thing is, people love to challenge this, right? So like you have to force them to not challenge so that you go into Hermit and kind of like, you know, force the Hermit mix-up after this. So that's exactly that's the idea behind how down forward 4-3 works, as like a mix-up string, you know, and forcing your opponents to respect you. So now, if they don't respect your down forward 4 into Hermit, this is where the parry comes into play. So for example, let's record him to do, wait, I think he's already actually recorded down forward 4 into Hermit, into Hermit 1, yes. Then for the second one, we're gonna record down forward 4-3. Code this movement, yes, let's put it at 5-5. Okay, so it's either he finishes the string or he does down forward 4 into Hermit 1. Now, as your opponent, you're thinking, okay, what's he gonna do? Should I respect him because he's going to finish a string, or should I challenge? So I challenge, I get parried. I challenge, I get parried. If he finishes a string and I challenge, I get counter hit as well. So if they respect you, go into your Hermit pressure now, right? They're respecting your down forward 4. So that's the idea behind how you use his Hermit 1 parry, right? You want to enforce them to start respecting you when you go into Hermit on block, right? The idea is on block and not hit. The same applies to, let's put this guy on, let's record another scenario. So let's deactivate this, not set, record, boom. The same applies to forward 4, right? So forward 4 is basically just like down forward 4. They're basically the same move, right? Or the idea is the same. So with this one, it has very good range, right? So the idea behind forward 4, so forward 4 into Hermit 1, right? Record this, okay. So the idea behind forward 4 is you want that hit on, you want that move to hit your opponent, right? On hit and not block. If you're on block, you're better off just cancelling, right? It's safe, you just cancel, you're good, not that risky. You land a hit, you're in for your Hermit pressure, right? You can continue with your lows, right? Your mids, right? Stuff like that, right? That's if you land it on hit. On block, you're better off cancelling. However, if you notice that they're challenging you after you cancel this, right? Maybe with jabs, which is very common, or down forward ones, That's where the Hermit 1 comes into play, because just like down forward 4, you challenge, you get parried, right? You challenge, you get parried. This is a bit slow compared to down forward 4, right? You challenge, you get parried. So up to minus, I think 16, right? 15, you can parry that. You can parry up to 17 frames. 15 frames down forward 1, you can parry this. 11 frames, you can parry. 12 frames, you can parry. So not up to 17. Right, 15. Yeah, so that's the idea, guys. Basically the same as down forward 4 is how forward 4 works. That's how you want to use this parry. So mostly it's on block and not on hit, because if you go into Hermit on hit, guys, you're better off employing a mix-up, Hermit mix-up, rather than going for Hermit 1. But for Hermit 1, it is a counter hit launcher, so maybe you can try to fish for this, but it's linear. It's very, very linear, so be careful. Like even on block, it's linear, so if you do stuff like this a lot, they can start stepping you, which is very, very risky. So again, it's about reads, not spam, but reads. Now, these are the 3 most important parries that Leroy has, or 4, right? Back 2, up forward 1, down back 1 plus 2, and Hermit 1. Hermit 1. He has other niche parries, like up forward 1, for example, but this one is unsafe, right? So why use an unsafe parry on block, right? That just gives you a knockdown with a follow-up, right? It's not worth it. If you guys don't know what it looks like, so let me just record. So down forward 1, record this movement. Yes, down forward 1. Too fast? Is it a kick parry, or does it just parry highs? Am I tripping? Let's see. Yeah, maybe it might not parry mids. Anyway, that's what it looks like. But guys, you are not gonna be using this. You're not. I don't advise you, because it's not safe on block, right? You're already risking yourself using back 2 and upward 1, right? So why use something that's risky to do and unsafe on block as well? So no, this is very niche. His other parry is his Hermit auto low parry. So for example, if you guys didn't know, he has an auto low parry from Hermit for lows, right? If you go low against him, Austin Hermit, you get that, right? So you can get stuff like Hermit 1 plus 2 guaranteed. So on the other side, what it looks like, right? So you can get stuff like, okay, right? 1 plus 2. My dog is going off, guys. Again, I'm sorry. You get stuff like 4 1 plus 2, right? Right, stuff like that. So yeah, these are very niche. You won't really like have a strategy for using this unless you want to like flex on your opponent, right? But otherwise, these are the most important parries you must use. Back 2, up forward 1, down back 1 plus 2, and Hermit 1. These are crucial for Leroy, right? They can nullify a lot of matchups if you have the read against your opponent, as well as having a just frame version of the back 2 that deals more damage. But again, his parry game is not as strong as it was back in Tekken 7, so please keep that in mind. Players will spam grabs against Leroy because they know you'll be using parries a lot, so keep that in mind. Don't rely heavily on your parry. As much as Leroy revolves around his parries, his offense is good, he's got decent loads and stuff like that, so please don't spam parry that much. So anyway guys, just a brief guide that I wanted to talk about Leroy's parry game, because yeah, I've been seeing hella people spamming Leroy parry, bro. Like, just don't. Against good players, you are going to get shredded. Now, if you like this guide about Leroy's parry, why not check this guide, this Steve guide about Steve's Lionheart stance?